You ever watch a show like Hoarders or Financial Audit and feel a weird mixture of pity, superiority, and motivation? That's not an accident. It's your brain calibrating. In today's episode, we'll talk about why that happens. Hey there, I'm Paige, and welcome to Nerdonomic, where this nerd talks about money and has a great time doing it. Okie doke, let's talk about this whole thing. So, it's the social calibration reflex, right? Aspirational contrast, if you will. Human beings haven't changed that much since the days that we were cave people. We are tribal creatures. We understand how we are doing as individuals by comparing it to how other people are doing. And we function with something called aspirational contrast. It's part of social comparison. And in psychology, social comparison theory is the process by which people compare themselves to others to get a sense of how they're doing. Boy, oh boy. It's hardwired into us. Really, people sort of differ in how much they do it and how they interpret it, like where they go with the information. But we all have a little bit of it, okay? And financial behavior is certainly no exception. I would argue that it's probably the most classic example. And think about it, right? Keeping up with the Joneses, stuff like picket fences, material wealth. You're looking at the car they drive. It comes out in the smallest ways. Whether we admit it or not, we're always scanning our friends' lives for little social cues. Looking at their Instagram or whatever. They eat out more than I do. Are they better off than me? Or something like, oh my gosh, they're buying a house. Should I be too? And then, you have things like TV shows, Reddit drama, and influencers that also kind of tell the story and tell us where we should land. Yikes. This is so cringe, right? Because I feel like everybody does this to a certain extent, but the more you know, the less you want to do it, but you're still kind of doing it a little bit. Like it's this vicious cycle. Okay, so if we're all doing it, what's the problem with this reflex? Well, here's the thing. Your friend who seems to be doing well off might be deeply in debt behind the scenes, and you're not going to see that. Especially when it comes to online, people lie or admit the financial realities. Like they're always curating it for other people. When you're looking at something like media, we were just talking kind of about influencers or TV shows, that sort of thing. Media is going to thrum up the biggest extremes for entertainment value because they want to capture your attention. They're not concerned primarily with conveying the truth. They want engagement. And sadly, most people will benchmark and compare themselves against visible consumption, not actual financial security, which can look a little underwhelming. There's the meme. My friend just sent me it the other day. See if I can find it. They send me a lot of memes. They're a good friend, that's how you know. Yeah, found it. It's from Twitter, account called Finance Cowboy. That's the handle. $100,000 in the bank and a paid-off car, people assume you're broke. $1,000 in the bank and a financed $100,000 car, people assume you're doing great. Stop letting material things fool you. This is very much that. So that's talking about looking at people that seem to be doing really well and wanting to do as well as them. Let's talk about the financial voyeurism that comes when you look at people who aren't doing well, who are deep in debt or have problems with their living situation. I mentioned Financial Audit at the beginning. Great show, love it. Caleb does great work. He's educating a lot of people. But there's a double-edged sword to this whole thing, right? So people learn a lot by watching Financial Audit, and because they're watching people who often have a similar debt situation or perhaps worse than them, they can go into it without shame. They can be like, oh, I'm not doing that bad. I could do a little bit better. And they can learn those kind of lessons. Now, they can also be misleading, a show like Financial Audit. And this is not on Caleb. Not hating on Caleb. He runs into this a lot of times with his guests, actually, because you can watch his show and you can feel good and relieved because you're doing better than the guest, but maybe you're not doing all that well. Or maybe you're only doing better than them in one aspect, but another aspect you're not being honest with yourself and you're not doing as well. He's had guests who come on like, well, I'm not as bad as this one episode you did, which was like the worst episode of all time, but their situation is still really bad. And they're kind of comforting themselves with that. Caleb's like, that kind of reframe isn't good. Like, let's say you are in traction in the hospital. Yes, you didn't have a cardiac event. Now, you can be excited or happy that, well, at least I didn't also have a heart attack, but you're still in traction. All your bones are broken. You need to heal. It's very similar that way with financial health. Also, some people might take it the other way and might feel worse about what they're doing, even though they're actually fine. So they might be doing overall well with their financial picture, but they might see a couple of behaviors that are suboptimal that a guest is getting yelled at. And in their case, the guest should get yelled at because their financial situation is all fooked up, but you might be able to do that. Caleb talks about that on the show too, that basically somebody going out to eat every once in a while for a treat when they can afford it is different than somebody's having to like finance their Uber Eats on like the Klarna or one of those pay laters. Like that is bad behavior. It's not good. It's financial self-harm, where somebody that, you know, is well above water, makes good money, can be frivolous with a little bit of their money every now and then. They don't need to feel bad. So for some people, it can lead into these really bad shame cycles where they really get so restrictive with their money that they are not enjoying it at all. So it can go either way. The moral of the story is that emotional reactions are not good data. They just are something that human beings are wired to do. So always use your frontal lobe. Always use your frontal lobe. Your planning, your thinking, your decision, your math. Fire this puppy up. It needs you. You need it. Let's talk about what to do instead. Always calibrate using your own goals and your own lifestyle, not someone else's lifestyle. Like your day-to-day, your practical concerns, where you want to be because it's where you want to be, not because it's where your sister is or your brother or your friend or whatever. And in doing so, make sure you use objective benchmarks. Do things like track your net worth. I just started doing that. That was rough. A lot of people start out with negative net worth unless you got mommy and daddy and a good starting zone. You know, unless you have generational wealth, you'll probably have negative net worth. So that can be tricky, but that can be a tool. Look at your savings rate, how much you want to tuck away every month, what percentage. I actually did a video called How I Budget Without Hating My Life. I go more into that. Look at something like debt to income ratio, you know, kind of compare how much you're spending every month from what you got on your debt and try to get that down, you know, wiping out certain debts. Objective benchmarks, use those instead of what you just saw on a reel or something or TikTok. And whenever possible, if you're gonna do comparisons, compare yourself to your past self, not somebody else. Look at where you are compared to where you've been and where you'd like to be. Comparing you to you. Hack that social comparison so it's mostly intrapersonal comparison. Be aware of the impulse to compare, but don't let it drive all of your decisions. So yeah, binge watch Financial Audit to your heart's content if it gives you that spark. But remember, their mess isn't your mirror. The best financial progress isn't about feeling superior to anyone. It's about being intentional. Anyway, it's been great talking to you as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.